Okay guys, let's talk about the Scarlet Letter. The question is, between Hester, Dimmesdale, and Chillingworth, what changes did each character experience throughout the course of the novel? Which character changed the most? Who changed the least? And how do you explain their change or lack of change?
I think that Mr. Chillingworth changed the most because at first, in the beginning of chapter 3, when he's first introduced, he's only said to have a slight deformity of one of the shoulders rising higher than the other. But then at the end of chapter 10, we can see that, quote, what a ghastly rapture it were, too mighty to be expressed only by the eye and features, and therefore bursting forth through the whole ugliness of his feature. We can tell that physically, because he's been so riddled and decaying with revenge, that he's just become ugly and devil-like.
I agree with you because later in the story when Chillingworth and Hester are talking, Chillingworth describes the good times when they were married and he does all these good deeds, and Hester explains to him how he's changed so much and he's overcome with revenge and madness.
And I agree with you because at the end of the book, in the conclusion, Hawthorne says that nothing was more remarkable than the change which took place almost immediately after Mr. Dimmesdale's death. This unhappy man had made the very principle of his life to consist in the pursuit and systematic exercise of revenge, when in short there was no more devil's work on earth for him to do. So he became ugly, and after he died, Dimmesdale, Chillingworth then followed after because he had no energy source. He was like a leech off of Mr. Dimmesdale.
Well, I think Hester changed the most because she had a physical change just as like Chillingworth did. But in here it says she took off the formal cap that confined her hair, once a shadow and a light in its ambiance, and impartly the charm of softness to her features. So I feel Hester changed the most because she had a physical change just like Chillingworth, but she also had but the letter is what made her change over Dimmesdale. So they had kind of a similar thing, but she still had like a big effect on how the letter she had to face with when Chillingworth was just going off for revenge. I was saying that I feel Dimmesdale changed the least because he was a lonely, dumb man at the beginning of the book, and then he continued to just die a dumb dude at the end of the book as well. So I feel like he had not a big effect. The only thing was he was just there to just hold the place.
Well, that brings us to the next question, which is who changed the least? And I think that's Hester, because at the beginning of the novel, she is very beautiful, she's an outcast, and then I feel as she had Pearl and she was isolated, she started to conform, and then at the end of the novel, she kind of returned back and takes back her beauty, and Hawthorne addresses that.
And I agree with you. Because in the beginning, when Hester is on the scaffold and she has the A, it's embroidered, it stands out. She's beautiful. The townspeople are impressed with her beauty, and throughout the story, she changes a little bit, but then at the end, like she's still the same Hester because she still questions everything, and she's still standing out, and she still has the same thoughts as before because she's still going against the Puritan thoughts.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Although Hester did change, she didn't change mentally and physically like both Chillingworth and Dimmesdale did.
I disagree. She changed physically.
She did go. Well, that's true. I do agree with what you're saying, that she changed.
Did change, but it wasn't as drastic as Chillingworth and Dimmesdale.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
Chillingworth and Dimmesdale physically changed. Like their bodies became deformed and like decaying. And Hester just kind of changed her clothes. Not really her personality or her body.
Yeah,
or her hair.
Hawthorne compares Chillingworth to Satan, and he's supposed to be this nice physician. So it's a big change.
Goes off of what it's supposed to be. In the end, I feel my opinion, I felt Hester changed the most, but after hearing your guys' arguments, I agree with you on Chillingworth changed the most. But I still think Dimmesdale changed the least out of it all.
I agree with that because he's still a coward, and barely at the end, right before he died, he fessed up to his sins, and he was a coward throughout the whole story. So I agree with Kourtney that Dimmesdale changed the least.
I actually disagree, and I think that Hester changed the least just because her personality and her, even though like in the beginning of the story, both Chillingworth, in the beginning, from the beginning of the story to the end of the story, both Dimmesdale and Chillingworth had this physical change, and not only was something inside of them changing, but it made them physically deformed. While Hester, the only thing that really changed about her was that she wore a shawl and she did not wear the red, beautiful clothing that she wore before. But her beauty and her individual thought was always with her, even throughout her death.
So, I think we can say that we agree to disagree. We agree that Chillingworth changed the most by his deformities physically and how he became sort of a devil, but that Hester, we disagree that Hester might have changed the least, and I do think that's what changed the least.
Because there's both sides. I can see to both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
So
Interesting talk, guys.
Good job, have a good day, bye!